because we are in the society and we are in that moral order of society, we think that we are better than those people, that's why we should not touch them. Everybody who says that I don't like politicians or politics and declares that openly is a person who truly believes that he is right and they are not right. That's why I call it a game of scoundrels. It's a game of scoundrels. I'm not going to be one of those scoundrels. But then Mahatma Gandhi was in that game of scoundrels. So also was Nelson Mandela. Why? That's the question. A lot of people who dislike politics truly dislike it. It's not that they are pretending to dislike it, but they do not want somebody to have power over them. Somebody who is not, in their eyes, a good man. So it's very difficult for people to accept it. And if you take in Europe, everybody has a very strong view here about what is right, what is not right. That is a very political position to take. On everything they have a view. Instead of saying that, oh, I leave it to the politicians. No, I don't want to be in politics, but I want to say what is right, what is not right. That is political. That is to be political. You need not be in representative politics. You may not fight an election, but you are political in nature. And such people have the most strong political views, whether it's homosexuality or abortion or feminism. These are the issues in this land which are very prominent. On that matter, many people really have strong opinions. They come out on the streets. We hate all the politicians, that's why we come out on the streets. That's a political thing. On immigration, people have views these days. I've been discussing with a lot of people here of immigrants coming from other countries here. They have views on that. So politics is, you cannot be untouched by politics, and if you are socially conscious, you will gravitate towards politics. It could be politics within your home, or it could be within your community or society, or within your country, or the world politics. Depends on the size of your desire to influence somebody else. There are people who truly don't get involved in politics, true, and they don't hold views, and they don't hold very passionate positions of political nature. There are people like that, but the most people in the society are not like that. Most people have very strong political views. So they are political, in my opinion, they are political in nature. Yes, he's in the same mold. He's in the same mold as the great leaders of our country in India. He's in that same mold. He has the promise. He's pregnant with that promise. Future will determine how he will fulfill that promise, and I'm sure he will, but only time will tell. He's a man who is very young and who has been at a peak of his career where he earns a lot of money and also has tremendous amount of fame. So he relinquishes that and jumps into a dirty game played by scoundrels and starts to clean it. This is tremendously inspiring, and he is doing something which very few people in the world do. And I am involved in it only because of him. Suppose he was not in politics and in this political fights and creating a party, I would never get involved with politics. I would have political opinions. I would be very passionate about a political view and hold them very strongly and use them in philosophy also. But I wouldn't be part of a party function as a functionary, as someone who works in it. In fact, I would call him a political genius, but it will take some time for the world in India to recognize that. But he's gifted with political acumen, what you call, and he understands power. And not everybody can deal with power, you know. Power is such a thing where one person influences the another person. Often we believe that the one who is being influenced and is suffering under the power of someone, if they are given power, it will be good. That's a big mistake, you know. Just because a group of people have suffered doesn't make them good people. If you give those suffering people power, they may be even more cruel than the people who inflicted suffering on them. It is not a proof of your goodness just because you are suffering. So when there are people who are suffering, they are given power, it is not a guarantee that those people will use power in a wise way. History has proven this many times. So people who are persecuted, people who are suffering, people who are powerless are not necessarily good people. And not everybody can deal with power. Not everybody who is gifted with power or thrust into a powerful position can deal with it. You need to be a very special kind of person to deal with it. You need to have tremendous self-control. You need to have great clarity of thought. And you need to have a strong sense of purpose. And you need to have the wherewithal, the ability to hold power. You must like it. And you must be able to hold it. Not everybody can do it. A lot of people bark at powerful people. It's very easy to say it. You know, I was watching TV some days back in Warsaw, and there was Putin. It was at a restaurant, and then the person who was with me started saying that, you know, that man is an ugly criminal or something like that. And I said, what do you know about this person? This person is put under scrutiny every day of his life. You know, every action of his is scrutinized, magnified. And then you pass a judgment sitting here. Suppose that magnifying glass is turned on to you. I take your 40 years of your life and put it under a magnifying glass and count every mistake that you made. You will look ugly too, if I magnify your mistakes. So, people who occupy positions of power for a long time, they do so because there is something in them which they are able to hold that scrutiny and not yet give up. This doesn't mean that they are good. This only means that they have the ability to hold power. And this is what I see in Mr. Kalyan too. He has the ability to hold power. That's one of the reasons why he will rise to great heights in Indian politics. Okay, I am involved in a political party, and I am involved in politics. I have a political nature. My work is in philosophy, but I do have a political view. And I am involved in politics because of Mr. Pawan Kalyan. He is one of those lion-hearted leaders who is not like those scoundrels. He is the one who wants to break that bastardized pragmatism. I will give you one example. He started the party called JanaSena Party, which means People's Army. And it's a very strong and very rapidly growing influence in the southern part of India. And soon it will be influencing the national politics under his leadership. He has done something already which not many people in India have done. Apart from a handful of great leaders, not many people have dared to take on a particular problem in our society of caste. The divisiveness there exists in our society based on caste. Caste is something which you're born into and you can't get out of it. He has taken on the caste prejudice there is based on caste, and he's made it the first ideal or the first principle of his party, that he is not going to discriminate people based on caste. And he is wise enough to realize that a system that has worked from 1500 years is not going to vanish from India like that. He is aware of that. But he's taken it on, saying that castes do exist in our society, but one must not discriminate based on that. One must unite each other as people. And in political world, in the political sphere, one should not have caste discrimination. In a country where people don't cast their vote but vote their caste, he has taken this as an issue. And a lot of people who are supposedly, within quotes, wise, said, don't do that. You will alienate your own caste, which forms a big group in our states, and you will alienate the other castes from which you don't belong, and you will alienate everybody else. Every caste will turn against you. But he said that I am not someone who belongs to this or that caste. I don't want to distinguish myself from another human being based on my caste. I want to unite with everybody. It is a social reality in India that we have a caste, and I am attached to one caste simply because that's the social reality into which I am born. I have not chosen it. So his argument is valid, and it's a very beautiful argument to make, but it is a very hard argument to take forward in a society which is deeply divided on caste. As I said, people don't cast their vote, they vote their caste. In such a situation, to start a new party, barely 4-5 years old, and to take on a problem that exists in India from 1500 years, or not a problem that exists, but a system that exists, and that system which has been the source of tremendous discrimination in our society, in tremendous oppression in our society of the majority of people who belong to the lower castes. It is a brave move. Such a bold view can only be taken by a person who is truly convinced about what is right. That is moral power. So he has that moral power. But to attain that moral power, to attain that moral power in the eyes of the masses, it takes time. So he's building his party based on such a principle. There are other principles too, but I don't want to go into it. But this is one principle as an example of how leaders can be in political field. So there are not only scoundrels who play the game. In fact, he's faced with scoundrels. He's fighting those scoundrels. And his rivals are actually those who promote this bastardized pragmatism. That means bastardized pragmatism means anything goes for what they want. They will join hands with an enemy if it means profit for them. They will fight with their friends if it's profit for them, powerful, if it's going to help them to get to power. That is pragmatism, which is truly bastardized. They are the promoters of such views, and here stands a lone man, and he has a tremendous following now. Millions and millions are following him, and he's birthing a new wave of righteousness. Such are the leaders who come from this game of scoundrels. And this is the reason why, he is the reason why I am in some small way involved with the party. So in my own small way, I am like a small functionary in it. So how come he attracted people like me is because of his moral power, because of the righteousness that he represents. Politics, in a popular sense, is a game of scoundrels, popularly, and with good reason why it is called like that. And also, politics is a place where several illiterates would like to lead one literate. So I am involved in politics because of one person who is very different from all of this. And though politics is a game of scoundrels, this same game of scoundrels has given the world Mahatma Gandhi or Abraham Lincoln, Martin Luther King Jr. or Nelson Mandela or John F. Kennedy. So it is a game of scoundrels, but it has thrown up some great names, great people. I am involved in politics because of one person. He's Mr. Pawan Kalyan, and because of him I got involved myself a little bit into politics. I am not directly involved in the practical political activities, though I am involved in the party. My role is limited to being a functionary in certain areas, but I will come to that later. I will explain that later. My idea of politics, as I said, it's a game of scoundrels played by scoundrels. It is because politics is an arena which removes all distinctions between people. When you enter that arena, the downright criminal and a very high achieving, morally conscious individual, they are placed side by side. In one sense, it is called a bastardized pragmatism, which sooner or later is going to hurt the people who are in that process. Good people and bad people. So politics is a game like that. But then why is it so important? That's the question. The question is why politics is plays such a prominent role in our lives. For that, we have to truly understand what politics is, not what politics has come to be known as, but what it actually is. Politics is actually the establishment of a moral order in the society. To organize a society in a moral way, in a just way, in the right way, that is politics. Politics is not about occupying political office and ruling somebody and enjoying a position of power solely with an intention to lead someone. That's not the intention. The original idea of politics has always been and still remains the establishment of a moral order in society. That means what is right, what is wrong, what is just, what is unjust, what is sinful and what is not, what is criminal. This has to be decided in a civilized society. This has to be organized. And politics is the sphere which organizes this. This is the reason why even those who say they don't like politics, they don't want to enter politics, are involved with it. In fact, they are more involved with it than anybody else, because of all the political options available in a society, a person says that I don't like any one of them, I don't go with any one of them, in fact I hate all of them, is someone who has the most political view because he dislikes everybody. He has the most passionate view when he says he doesn't want to be involved in it. And by saying so, by refusing to be involved directly, is expressing his political position. So we are all involved in some way or the other in politics. Not maybe in representative politics, not maybe sitting in a parliament, but we are involved in it by expressing our ideas as to how a society should be, who should occupy a place and who should not. This is the establishment of moral order. Who should sit at the highest places in the society and who should be at the lowest places. So there is always a debate in the society going on about who is occupying the highest place and whether they should occupy it or not. People here in the West, in which we are right now, in Europe, they popularly dislike Donald Trump because he occupies a position of great power and people think that he doesn't deserve to be in that place. And yesterday I was speaking with a very highly placed official in Germany, and then that person was talking about Putin as a vile character, as a very negative, very bad person. Wherever I went in Europe, there's always this hatred or intense dislike for Putin. Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia. This kind of, so I asked these people, would you like to be in politics? They said no. It's a dirty game. So then why don't people get involved? What is this politics? It's the establishment of the moral order in which every member of the society participates by expressing their idea of what is right, what is not right. That is political game. And why is it filled with scoundrels? Is because it attracts people, either truly great people or truly vile people. The middle class, so to say, in India we call it middle class, who are very moralistic, who pass moral judgments on others, they rarely get involved with politics. Either kings or princes or rich people, they get involved, famous people, or the really downtrodden people who fight for their rights. Without that fight, their life will kind of degrade into a very bad situation. They start fighting for their rights. This kind of people. And in between, there are so many others who are criminals, who are charlatans and knaves and cheats and manipulators. They come into politics. So politics is about establishing a moral order, and it is about, that is the reason why, let me say this, there is a reason why politics is closely associated with religion. Because religion also establishes a moral order from a spiritual point of view. So therefore they are close cousins, politics and religion. And another idea of power is the morality and righteousness. If you are one among 10,000 people, and all these 10,000 people or 9,999 people, if these people are corrupt in some way or the other, and you are the only one girded by moral power, girded by righteousness, then you have the greatest power. It is always the man who is moral who has more power. Even if that man is not present in a meeting, but in that meeting everybody knows that there is this man away from here in some other corner, but that person is a good person, is a righteous person, that person's influence will be there on that meeting. It is only a question of communicating to the others that you are righteous. And life presents us many opportunities to show our righteousness. and for which we need to pay a big price. So morality is that tiny principality of power which is everlasting. That's the reason why Jesus Christ is worshipped, because he girded himself with moral power, what is right. And he, historically or mythically speaking, he is the one who gave his life for what he believed in. So those who believe in righteousness and those who give their life to it, they have true power. So in political power, occupying a position is one thing, but having morality as one's power is another. Mahatma Gandhi never occupied any political position. He never occupied a political position, but he had tremendous power, not only on India but over the world. Nelson Mandela was rotting in jail for 27 years. It's not the place of power to be, but he had the greatest power on South African politics, sitting in jail. So how come a man who has no position, and in fact is a prisoner and in jail for 27 years, how can that man have so much power? The power doesn't come from position. Power comes from being moral. Power comes from representing what is right. That is true power. Why are people attracted to power so much? That's the question. What makes people get drawn to power? This is the question. And it appears that people who are going into political life, they, in some way or the other, in some part of their lives, they want power. This is natural. The need to have power is nothing but a way to ensure one's liberty is protected. I want to do what I want. I want to do what I like to do. But do I have the power to do it? If somebody else powers me, controls me, I will lose the freedom to do what I want to do. So we all want that power to lead our own life. But that is not the will to power. That is merely an instinct to preserve oneself and exist. The will to power is when we want to control others' lives. A lot of people go into politics because they want to be able to control lives of others and thereby profit from it. And one can say, to what extent can a man profit from it? It is not the profit that is pecuniary or financial or material. The profit is deeply psychological. To have 1 million people bow down to your will is a vice. It's a vice greater than drugs. It's a vice greater than sex. It's a vice greater than passion for wealth. It's a vice greater than gluttony. It's a vice greater than any other vain pursuits that we see. So, people who are sinful, who have bad habits, let's say gluttony, eating too much, or a greed for money and possessions, slowly they will find that as time goes by and as age advances, their need for eating too much, having too much comes down. Even if they don't leave their vices, as age goes by, they will find their vices leaving them because they can't digest anymore due to age, so they stop eating that much. They cannot enjoy wealth anymore because of lack of youth in their body, lack of energy, so they go towards spirituality and such things. So people, even if they do not leave their vices, the vices will leave them. But power is the only vice which keeps increasing as age advances. This is the reason why you'll find many old people in political positions never leaving them, hanging on to them, because that's the kind of vice which only increases with age, wanting to control others. So it is said wisely that arrogance is the vice of the youth and avarice is the vice of the old. Wanting this power is mostly a vice of the old. Therefore, you'll find people who live their life in a certain way for 60, 70 years and then they come into political power. Then they never leave it. There are many people who died in power. So that is one idea of power as expressed by Aldous Huxley. There is a reason also why. Because goodness and righteousness and morality is a rare occurrence in human beings. World over, throughout the ages, humans are people who practice hypocrisy, vanity, pride, arrogance, sloth, greed. Humans practice this regardless of age and era and epoch. Humans are sinful. And because of this, only the rarest of the rare people have great moral power. That's why vast populations of the world in every era live either an indifferent life or an immoral life. That means they don't care about that. It doesn't really matter to them, or they are downright criminal. It is different to break or follow the law. It is different, it is quite another matter to be wrong, to be immoral. And what is moral, what is immoral are decided by the people themselves in every era. So these people like Gandhi or Martin Luther King Jr. or Nelson Mandela, they come out and become leaders of society where they lead people towards great moral situations. But then Gandhi was loved by millions and millions of people, but very few people lived like him. That means they love him, they worship him, and they go back and live their lives unlike him. So why can't they live like him if they love him so much? It's a question. Because it is so hard to live a life like that. That's why he has that power, others don't. That's real power. And I would advocate to all young people who are interested in careers in public or those who follow politics to always remember that politics is not about occupying office. Politics is about influencing people about what should be right and what should not be right. This is the influence that one has over the others. Politics means to do that, have that influence, to create that influence. That's number one. Second is, power is something that comes from morality. Power comes from being righteous. Power comes from being correct. Need not be, of course we can make mistakes, but not wrongs, not commit deliberate sins or crimes. Our power diminishes with that. So true power comes from righteousness. Whether one occupies a position or not, history is proof of this. That great people with great power rarely occupied great positions, but they occupied great place of power in the hearts of people. They had power, true power, because they were right. They stood for what is right.